Ed Lover and Dr. Dre used to host Yo MTV Raps, which is like the first mainstream hip hop show. He came down maybe 2 weeks before I left, and I played Whoomp, There It Is, and he was like, "What is that?" He was like, "Man, I gotta get that." And maybe 2 weeks after, he takes it back on a Monday and plays the instrumental bed, the whole entire show of Yo MTV Raps. Now the whole nation is trying to figure out what the hell is that record. That's what catapulted it. Another thing that happened, the Bulls had won their third NBA championship. There's 500,000 people in Grant Park, and you got Jordan, Pippen, and all the Bulls on the stage chanting "Whoomp, There It Is." What blew it up in DC is that, DC's in the house, jump, jump, rejoice. They think of the songs about DC, so they think we're from DC. That's where it becomes prideful. And then those three things, and then it just blew up on radio, and we just never looked back.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Adeptus On-Air. I am again your host, Mike Hoffman, and today I am joined by Cecil, but better known as DC Glenn. DC, how you doing, buddy?
Doing wonderful, man. How you doing?
Good. I appreciate you coming on. First to say, not necessarily a hip-hop person, but when I heard you were coming on and I did my homework, your big song is probably, I guarantee you, if you listed 100 hip-hop songs or 1,000 hip-hop songs, this would be the one I would know. And this is the one that I hear over and over, no matter what party you go to, no matter what wedding you go to, and so forth. So you are half of the hip-hop combo tag team, and your classic is, say it for me.
Whoop, there it is.
There you go. It sounds so much better coming from you than it would have from me. So is that something wherever you are, people always ask you to give that tagline?
Nah, nobody knows who I am. That's the beauty of how I've concocted this whole scheme, is that to this day, the song has always been bigger than us, right?
Yeah.
So I get to live my life. I get to pick and choose when I want to turn on.
Yeah.
Being a star or when not being a star, or, just wanting the attention and not wanting the attention. So I've really had a blessed life and able to do things that, without being recognized. And that's fine with me because I've never wanted that from this endeavor. So,
well, it's amazing because, I look at your bio and some of the movies will talk about that you've had a musical role in Elf, Addams Family Values, Rio, Shark Tale, Pitch Perfect. I mean, we're not talking, B-list films. You're talking some quality films right there.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I'm an actor as well.
Yeah.
So when a lot of people see my IMDb, which is the database for actors, they think I've actually acted in all of those movies. And it's funny because, it helps. You know what I mean? And then, just building up that repertoire over 32 years and looking back on it, it is very, it is very insightful and some would think impressive. And, I use it to the full hilt in my marketing. So
yeah, absolutely. Before we get to, how you got to where you are now, because I always like the backstory, I got to ask you one question because having two daughters, Pitch Perfect was obviously a movie that I've seen probably 47 times. Mm-hmm. So what was your role in that movie? Your music?
Basically, one of the actresses, I forgot her name. She just said, "Whoomp, there it is." And it turned into a meme, and then you get a credit for the movie. I think they might have played the song in it, and that's it's not like I made a call and set up the deal and all that. It's just like people license the music. So when they license the music, they can use it in the movie however they want to use it. So the fact that they even picked me, that's the win. You know what I mean?
Now I'm thinking back to it. Now you're mentioning that to me. I think I know exactly where it happened in the movie.
Yeah, like whoop, there it is.
Yeah, that's right. I believe that character, I think, if my memory is correct, was Fat Amy, Rebel Wilson.
Fat Amy, that's it. Fat Amy, that's right.
Yeah, so that's how many times I've seen it. You give me a line, I'm like, that's right. Yeah, it's so funny. So let's go back. So obviously born in Chicago. Was hip-hop your passion growing up?
Well, actually, I only lived in Chicago for like 4 years, and then we moved to Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
So this was before hip hop. I had no clue. There was no hip hop in the 70s, right? Yeah. And until the late 70s, early 80s, where Sugar Hill Gang and Grandmaster Flash, they started putting records out. There were a couple before then, but they weren't considered hip hop, right? So once it started, I was in my teens. And just like a lot of kids, your parents make you go to piano lessons. I played the trumpet. They want us to be musically inclined, but it was more of a chore than it was something that I really wanted to do.
I have to stop you right there because you're looking to a fellow trumpet player back in the day.
Yeah. My father played trumpet, so he was proud of his son playing trumpet. And it's like, I did it, but I sucked because I just didn't want to do that.
Yep.
But I knew I loved music. I used to sing in choirs. I used to be in school plays. I did all those things, but it didn't happen till my first semester at a new high school in the 10th grade. The name of the high school was Manual High School in Denver, Colorado. Mm-hmm. And that was where me and Steve Rowland met. And because both our last names start with G, I'm Glenn and he's Gibson, we sat next to each other. And Steve had a band that would play in the quad during lunchtime sometimes. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And I was like, I want to be in that band because I could sing. So I begged them and followed them around and was their roadie and all that. And they finally let me in the band. And then, more musical influence came to me where I used to work at the truancy office, passing out slips. Mm-hmm. And down the hall, Dr. Joyce Davis used to conduct what's called the Bolt Vibration Choir, right? One of the esteemed choirs in Colorado. And I used to sit, go to the door and just listen to the music. And one day she caught me and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I just love the music." And she's like, "All right, go on." And after school, I went and I was like, "What I got to do to be in this choir?" She was like, "All right, we'll put you through the rigors and all that." Yeah. And I ended up being in the choir. And then what really solidified my introduction to hip hop was the first high school dance I went to at that high school. That was the first time I seen 2 turntables, a mixer, and scratching and mixing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that is what I want to do. And I became a DJ. And becoming a DJ led to, me being a rapper, and being in the band led me to the business side of it because I used to get all our gigs in high school. So I would go around to businesses and cold call and, basically bars and see if they wanted a band. Or I would go, there was always a festival. There was always a block party. Mm-hmm. And we would play at those events. So we started getting gigs and then started getting paid gigs. And, I kind of was leading everything because I was going to get the drumsticks, the bass strings. I was making sure we practiced on time. I was making sure I took the pictures, and, we had newspaper articles and all of that. And, we had a couple great summers, but as young people go, it's hard to keep a band together when everybody is dispersing after high school. Of course. So I went to Sac State, and Steve stayed here and a couple other members stayed here, but we came back the first summer and we played then. But after that, a guy named Otis went to the military. We just kind of disbanded and me and Steve stuck together. Mm-hmm. And, the original tag team was 3 members, but Otis went to the military. So it was just me and Steve. And going to Sacramento, I was like, well, I'm going to be a DJ. So I started DJing parties and DJing all the, fraternity parties and, DJing parties. We had a dining hall called Jenkins Hall, and where we ate, it was 5 big halls, and in the middle there was a big dining commons, and that dining commons had a PA system. And I asked the RAs, could I, set up on Friday and do a party for all the people? And it's like, as long as you clean up, boom, boom. So I would do parties on Friday and just give everybody just a joyous time because I was a good DJ. That's how I made my bones in DJing. Yeah. Better and better and better and better. And what really helped me is that I just had a knack for finding the record. So I would order from the East Coast, I would order from the West Coast, and then we had Tower Records back then. There was good distribution for vinyl back then, so you could find records. But ordering from the East Coast changed everything for me because then now I'm a part of the beginning of hip hop with MC Shan and Boogie Down Bronx and Scott LaRock and Roxanne Shante and the pioneers of hip hop. And before then, what really got me started was when the first dance in high school, I heard Planet Rock.
Mm-hmm.
All those, old New York electronic records. To me, that's the genesis of hip hop, because that started the B-boy era.
Yeah. Sure.
Breakdancing and all that. So, fast forward, I'm in college and I meet this guy named Johnny Z, who later would become the producer of In Too Deep, Back to the Hotel. But we were just friends that stayed on the same floor in the dorms. And I taught him about DJing and hip hop. He taught me about heavy metal.
Wow.
And the first Christmas, he got a Christmas present of a Tascam 4-track. And he didn't know how to use it. And I was like, I'll figure out how to use it. And my other homeboy, Cornell, he had a 808 drum machine. And I was like, let me borrow that. He's like, nah, you can come over here and make your beats, though. So I went over his crib, made some beats, about 10 beats. Mm-hmm. And then I just start applying applying stuff to them, because a 4-track, you have 4 tracks to make a song.
Right.
I used to have to go to the studio to make a song and spend $20 an hour. But for a young man, that's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
With a 4-track, you could take your time. You could do multiple takes. It was no pressure. And I end up concocting 10 songs out of pots and pans, flutes, whatever I had around, scratches, beatboxing, whatever, and sent it to Steve. And he thought I was in devil worship, because he had never heard nothing like that. But he got a 4-track. So now we're all making songs, going back and forth. Now I'm making songs. And because Otis left, I had to start rapping. So I'm in class writing lyrics. Right. So I've always been business minded and marketing minded. So I started DJing in the clubs. I was DJing all the parties. I was making the flyers. I was doing everything. And I got good at it. And I graduated from Sac State, and I moved to Atlanta. And I was supposed to have a job at CNN, and I ended up working at this adult club, strip club called Magic City. We just finished the documentary that's on Stars. And everybody's looking at me like, I didn't know you did that. But that's where I started in Atlanta. So I was like, I could do this for the summer, and then I'll go work at CNN in, the fall. And the first night I worked, I made $500, right? And, I got the job because the owner didn't need a DJ, but he wanted me to be the cook. So I was the cook and the backup DJ, but the, main DJ, he's like, I got somebody that can do stuff for me, and I can go mess around and have fun or go run errands. And he let me on his turntables. And in a week, I was the head DJ. And I've been the head DJ at every club I've ever worked at for the last 40 years. And that experience really molded me, because I was innovative back then, because I was the one that was, articulate on the microphone. I knew how to rock the microphone. I knew how to rap. I get to play my own songs.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Magic City was the number one club in Atlanta. I got there when Bobby Brown got there, when LA and LA Reid and Babyface got there. I got there when Deion Sanders got there, Dominique Wilkins. So I know all these people because they're in my DJ booth buying my mixtapes. Right?
Not a bad group.
Not a bad group. Plus all the Falcons, plus all the Braves when they went through their thing in the 90s. Mm-hmm. Right? I had everybody in the 90s. I knew everybody and was a star before I was even a star. Right? So being in Atlanta in the South, you had to make up-tempo music. I didn't realize that, and we were making hip hop music. That's what that's what we did. But I knew I wasn't going to be able to get out of the Southeast making a hip hop record. And at that time, anyway, because there really was no music scene in Atlanta. I went to Steve. I said we got to make some up tempo stuff. But down there, it was bass music. You got Luke Campbell, Two Live Crew, all those records like that. But it was like Steve was like, I can't make that stuff because I love it, but I can't make it. And I was like, no, think Planet Rock. So we went back to the essence of hip hop, Planet Rock. That's why Whoomp, There It Is sounds so different than everybody else, all the other ones and all the other Southern based stuff. And we put it together. Everybody thinks it was this Manhattan project, you know what I mean? Where we really were just putting together theorems and just, concocting all these things to make the perfect record. And it was just a song, man. And I'll never forget it. Summer 92, I went to work and I had a cassette a rough cassette tape, and I played it. And to this day, that's the biggest response on any record I've ever played. Like 15 people came to DJ booth, like, what is that? So my hubris as a young man, I'm like, well, every record I make is going to be like this. Mm-hmm. So I got ahead of myself, and I kind of shelved Whoomp There It Is. But later that fall, one of the girls, her name was Cherry, she was like, how come you don't play Whoomp There It Is no more? We love that song. And I was like, I'll play it. And when I played it, a representative for Columbia Records was in the house. And back then, it was just New York and LA as far as record companies.
Yeah.
So for them to spread it out through the country, they had representatives in branches in every single major city. So I knew all the reps from every record label, because they would bring me records and they would service us. They would service the DJs, they would service the radio, they would service record pools and all that. So he hears it, he takes it to New York, and now I'm getting calls from Columbia Records, and then I start to send it to everybody through the reps. Now I'm talking to Epic, I'm talking to Warner Brothers, I'm talking to everybody, but nobody knew what to do with it. And I almost gave up to a lady named Lisa McCall who worked for Mercury Records, told me to call a gentleman named Al Bell, who back in the day, there was 3 record companies that kind of started black music, which is Berry Gordy Motown, Philly International, and Stax Records, which was owned by Al Bell. And fast forward to the 90s, he had a new record label. And the summer before us, he had put out a record called Daisy Dukes by a group called Deuce. And it went gold. So I was like, okay, I'll give him a call. Called him. He didn't call me back, but he finally called me back. And I just told him, I said, hey, man, I'm DJing in the hottest clubs, hottest strip clubs, and I've got this record on fire. It's tested. It's a hit. You got to sign us. And he was like, okay. And I was like, you haven't even heard the record. He's like, I don't have to hear the record. I hear it in your spirit.
Oh, wow.
He said, let's agree to agree. And I was like, cool. I gave my 2 weeks notice at Magic City. Freaknik 93 was my last weekend, and signed a messed up record deal. And in a month and a half, Tag Team was platinum, and the rest is history.
Now, when you're making a song, and obviously, let's face it, for every 1,000 songs written, whatever that number is, few, and it's probably even smaller than that, become a hit. That tagline is so legendary. So forget the rest of the song, forget about anything else you've done. Those 4 words. How did those come about? Like, was that just someone ran as we're talking about it? Because that's obviously, those 4 words really kind of changed your musical life.
So what people don't understand is that Whoomp There It Is was a party saying. It was on the, in the realm of throw your hands in the air, waving like you just don't care, or the roof is on fire. It's a party saying inspired by the club. So I hear the girls shouting it in the clubs, and it's just embedded in my brain. But I didn't, I just, I listened to, heard it, and was like, okay, I'm gonna spell it this way, right? But there were 3 other records that spelled it different ways, right? Mm-hmm. Because it was a party saying, so it was a coincidence that so many of those records came out at the same time. There were 2 other records that came out. There was 2 other records that came out at the same time we did, right? Mm-hmm. So now you get into the conversation of who stole whose record and who did this and who did that, when it had nothing to do with any of that. It was just a coincidence. It was a popular saying that people were saying, and then we just end up making a record about it. But the way we did the record, right? The sample that we used, which was Kano, I'm Ready. That was an old 70s classic, right? Mm-hmm. So that gives it a different type of flavor. And then just sticking to the principles of electronic music and hip hop, that made it different from the Miami bass and all the other stuff. And then we were clean, right? First version wasn't clean, but then they were like, we can't do that. But you got to clean it up. And it was clean. So that means people could buy it for their kids. People could put it on the radio. People could play it at parties, at weddings. And that's what catapulted it into the stratosphere.
So you sign, it comes out, you go platinum.
Yeah.
How different is your life at that point?
Not much, because I was already popular and a star through DJing in Atlanta, because that's when Atlanta was growing.
Yeah, but that was Atlanta. Now your song's now known across the country? Are you touring with it, or are you going?
Yeah,
Are you
we
guest
hit
DJing in other cities?
we hit the ground running. We were on promotional tour probably maybe a month after I quit Magic City. So now we're going to city after city, and what we did is there are all these records. Like first there was 3 records, then there's like by the summer there was like 8 different Whoomp There It Is records. So all these records are competing, but it was like we'll let them fight it out in the Southeast, and we'll take the rest of the country. So now we're in LA, we're in Seattle, we're in DC, we're in New York, we're in Miami, right? And there are a couple key things that help me, which goes back to Magic City. The first thing is that I'm really good friends with Ed Lover. And, you know, Ed, for those who know who Ed Lover is, Ed Lover and Dr. Dre used to host Yo MTV Raps, which is like the first mainstream hip hop show. And he came down maybe 2 weeks before I left, and I played Whoomp There It Is, and he was like, "What is that?" He was like, "Man, I got to get that." So all I had was cassettes. I gave him a cassette. He's like, "I can't do nothing with no cassette. I need vinyl." So as soon as we signed with I said, "I need some vinyls out." And I got him his vinyls. And maybe 2 weeks after, he takes it back on a Monday and plays the instrumental bed, the whole entire show of Yo MTV Raps. Now the whole nation is trying to figure out what the hell is that record.
Right.
And that's what catapulted it. Another thing that happened was the Bulls had won their 3rd NBA championship. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting on my couch watching WGN because there was only 2 cable stations back then, WGN and TBS. That's why
I remember both. I used to have the Braves on TBS and the Cubs on WGN.
Yeah, so there's 500,000 people in Grant Park, and you got Jordan, Pippen, and all the Bulls on the stage chanting "Whoomp There It Is." That was another monumental moment that blew it up. And then what blew it up in DC is that, you know, DC's in the house, jump, jump, rejoice. They think of the songs about DC, so they think we're from DC. Right? So that's where it becomes prideful. And then those 3 things, and then it just blew up on radio. And we just never looked back.
So from the business side of things, and you kind of alluded to it before when you're talking about Pitch Perfect, your song to this day still pops up. And like you said, maybe not even when you're aware it pops up until after. Can you explain to the people listening how that works where you have ownership rights? So a movie like Pitch Perfect, you could even use a show like Dancing with the Stars or something like that. How does it work if someone wants to use your song?
So that's where it gets sticky, because that's why you hear so many horror stories about artists not getting paid, artists not owning their rights. Because when you're a young kid, all you want to do is be a star, right? So you'll sign anything because you just want to get put on. And, you know, I think our situation, I try to do as much due diligence as I knew within myself. But when it comes to publishing, see, a record and publishing are 2 different things, right? So the record deal is you get you get this amount per unit that you sell. So that's that. But the publishing rights are where, well, if Disney wants to do something, they gotta go through us, and then we approve it, and then whatever the splits are, that's what we split on the publishing. Because we wrote it, there are 2 parts to publishing. There's the writers, and then there's the publishing. Yep. So because we're the writers, every time it's played in the stadium, every time it's played on television, we get a certain amount of money for that because we wrote it. So that's 50-50 between me and Steve. But for the publishing, it's still 50-50, but it's 50% tag team, 50% the record company. What our fatal flaw was we turned over administration to the record company because we wanted to then administer the money. Yeah. And because they have this thing called recoupment where they can add stuff on, and it's like they can recoup you forever. So that's how that's how it turned out for us. But we still had our writers, so we were still getting paid, and we still get paid to this day. And I went through a 20-year legal battle over that, right? That's why it's just Whoomp There It Is. We got a chance to do other records, but Whoomp There It Is was so big that we were never going to be able to do anything else. We were never going to have a career with a bunch of catalog songs. And it's just, we were kind of doomed from the start, but not really, because if you got to be a one-hit wonder, what better hit to have than Whoomp There It Is?
Well, it's so funny you say that, because I didn't want to use that phrase, because I don't know if some take that in a negative connotation, but
and I embrace that, because
I think you should.
One-hit wonder. If I'm a one-hit wonder, why am I still touring? Right. Mm-hmm. If I'm a one-hit wonder, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Because I've worked very, very hard. Like all these trials and tribulations that I've gone through, in my life, I've vowed that anything negative that happens, any mistakes that I make, I vow that it'll never happen again, because I educate myself. Right. So, I'm a licensed commodities broker, right? Because I signed a bad record contract. I vowed that I will never get taken for money again. Mm-hmm. I will learn finance. Because I was in a 20-year legal battle, I said, well, you better figure this out. You better learn language. So I'm basically a paralegal, because I had to go. I learned about case law. I learned about how you bring a lawsuit to trial. You got to go through district courts. You got to make motions to be able to do it. The court has to accept your motion.
Yeah.
Right. All those things I had to learn, and like year 2000, I look at CNBC. I don't know what the heck they're talking about, but by year 2001, I know everything they're talking about. And that's what made me take the Series 3 and pass Series 3 and try to work at a couple firms. But I would have had to give up music to do that. And I was going to give up music. Right. So I got an education out of it. Then it started the self-help thing. And then the self-help thing leads to marketing. And because I was kind of a pioneer in marketing for the clubs, making the calendars and taking pictures of the girls and learning Photoshop when it first came out, and just doing everything I had to, being the voice of the radio spots, every Wednesday night. That was me on the radio, right? Yeah. I had all these skills that helped me and help tag team stay in the game. And then fast forward to, the social media era and the website era, where I was like, I got to learn SEO. Didn't even know what SEO was, but now I'm masterful at it. Right. Yeah. I had to learn, how to be my own publicist. So I joined Public Relations Society of America, and that happened because of the Geico commercial. All these things that kept Whoomp There It Is alive happened because I had the, wherewithal to say, hey, I got to learn how to do this so we can still keep our visibility.
Yeah.
Right.
It's what it's all about. It's relevance and visibility.
That comes through trial and error, though. That comes through, something big happens and you're popular again, but you don't have no money in your pocket by the end. Well, something's not right. You know what I mean? And you go look on the web and you don't have no presence. So it's like, I need to figure this out. But I've always been able to figure it out by doing it and practicing it in the clubs that I was working at. Because, I'm thinking that I got the money to do this lawsuit, but that's how they do you. Yeah. They lead you, and then you're broke. So I had to go back to the clubs, but that was natural. So now I'm in the biggest clubs in Atlanta. I'm making show money. I get to go do shows every now and then, and I'm okay. But every now and then, Whoomp pops up in a commercial, and then I have to deal with it. So it got to the point where I was like, this is kind of what as I got older, I said, I don't want to DJ forever. So I said, I have to be able to figure out how to use Whoomp There It Is in a way that gets me, that I can make a living off this one song.
Yeah, it's all about monetization. Yeah.
So I became my own booking agent. And this is what I tell all the young cats. I was like, look, whenever I want to learn something, I join an organization. So I'm a part of 30 different organizations. And if I want to do concerts, I have to learn how that whole apparatus works. And it starts with, a buyer. The buyer is the person who wants to do the concert. Then the buyer goes to the booking agents or the talent or the agencies, and they're the ones that can find the artists. And then the promoters are going to, promoters and booking agency are the next tier. Then you got the managers of the tier after that. Then you got the artists last. Right. So you got 3 or 4 middlemen before you even get to the buyer. So I said, why am I dealing with the middleman when I can go to the buyer? And when you join these organizations, like the first organization I joined was International Entertainment Buyers Association. You got every buyer in the concert industry in one place. So the first one I went to, the conference I went to, I wear a big Whoomp There It Is t-shirt. And now everybody knows who I am. So now I can pitch.
Yeah.
My name is DC Glenn. I'm with the group tag team. We're a clean 90s nostalgic rap group. Those were the keywords, right? Mm-hmm. If I had said I'm a rapper and we got a rap group and we do hip hop, they would be like, oh, they'll know because the insurance and this, it has a negative connotation when it comes to business, right? Unless you're just super hot where you can, unless you're Snoop where you can just rise above all of that. But there are very few artists that can do that. We got one song. We don't got a catalog of songs, right? So I have to work within the parameters that I can work within. So I start building relationships with all the buyers. And then I joined Polestar, which is the bigger concert organization that has all the support services and the record companies and the whole industry. So now everybody knows who I am. They're seeing me at these conferences. Now we're starting to get shows. Now we're on tours and nostalgic tours and whatnot. And now I'm humping. I'm cool. And then all of a sudden, you know, the pandemic hits, but I'm still work. You know, we're not doing shows, but I'm an actor, right? Mm-hmm. I do voiceover this week on NBC, right? I do that. So I've always done things to help me be a one-man band when it comes to marketing and putting things together in social media and whatnot, and understanding these algorithms and all the things that it takes, because I know SEO, because I know SEO, I know how to build websites, because I know how to build websites, I know how Google works. I know what to do now. And because of all of this, I get a call from, you know, in the middle of a pandemic from my acting agent. And she's like, DC, you just booked a Geico commercial. I was like, Lena, don't mess with me. I haven't even auditioned for a Geico commercial. And she was like, no, DC, tag team. And because of all those efforts and me learning SEO and me putting myself in the proper position on the internet throughout the world, they called me.
Right.
I didn't answer the phone. They go to my IMDb, get the information to my acting agent. Now I get to let them make the deal. And it's the biggest, most lucrative deal I've ever made, the Geico commercial.
You know what I like about what your philosophy is? You're smart. You're trying to monetize this song to support you, but you're also not sitting back waiting for that to happen. You're educating yourself. You're branching out into voiceover work, into acting. So you're protecting yourself. So as long as if one thing isn't hot right now, you got the next thing, and you're really positioning yourself for a successful, 10, 15 years.
So let me tell you what I got on my plate today. So today I got on my plate, I got an audition for a television show. I got to start putting together a video for our show to sync with the music part of our show. Mm-hmm. I got to set up Go High Level for my email. I have to see, everybody talks about email marketing, but they're looking at it from a perspective, I got to get leads. Well, because I'm in an organization, I already got the leads.
Right.
I just have to be able to email these people when I need to. You can't just do that, right? Because everything will go to the spam. So I had to spend 6 months learning how to do that effectively before I even start, because you can be doomed before you start.
Agreed.
Right? I have to, I'm learning how to make AI agents, right? To where I can automate all my little tasks that it takes me time to do. Mm-hmm. I'm deep into AI, but I'm also text to video, text to image to video. I'm learning how to do all of these different things in the AI realm because it's the future, right? And because I know so many other things, I can really be ambidextrous in life because I can do so many things. I'm in all the digital marketing associations. So when I go to conventions, I've built a serious repertoire of colleagues that I can spitball stuff off of. And then they come to me and I give them things from my perspective, right? Like, who would think that if you're a nerd in the software game, you get to be friends with DC the Brain Supreme Tag Team. Now, that don't mean anything, but to them, it means something, right?
Sure.
To me, I'm humble. I'm just DC. But to them, it means a lot. And I help people and people help me, right?
Mhm.
Because when you're in those organizations, there is no competition. It is all about we're coming together as a collective to make our industry better. What are the new things that are happening? And that's the key to that, as opposed to buying a course or doing all the other things. You get to be in the room with some of the smartest people on this planet, and they freely give you the game. Freely. Same thing. So, when the Geico commercial comes out, it's a hit, but we're in the middle of a pandemic, so I can't take advantage of it because we can't go do shows.
Right.
Like Salt and Pepper did theirs in 2014. They hadn't stopped touring for 4% since. They just recently stopped.
Yeah.
So it still had that effect for me, but I said, I'm not going to sit back.
Mhm.
Let me be my own publicist. Well, how do I do it? Well, let's join the Public Relations Society of America.
Yeah.
Right. So now, and this is funny because I think it was a Tuesday. That was my first meeting. It was this, legendary publicist, and we get to ask questions because that's what you get to do when you're in an organization. And I raised my hand. I say, hey, our press release is still relevant. I know they're relevant, but I want to know how they're relevant. And she's like, well, what's it for? I was like, well, I'm kind of featured in this commercial, this Geico commercial called Scoop There It Is. And I'm looking at the chat, and I blew up the entire chat. But I did it on purpose because now
you're known.
The thing is about me.
Yes.
I get the attention and get the answers that I want. And the chat's like, my mom loves that commercial, man. That's a great commercial.
It is.
And it just blew up the entire chat. And she was like, of course that press release was going to work. And you want to go here for the best press release companies. You want to go here for the TV talk shows. You want to go here for all the radio. You want to go here for all the publicists. You want to go here. She gave me the entire breadth of her professional career in 10 minutes. And it has changed my life forever. And it is the sole reason that you and I are talking right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because podcasts and me being an expert, an expert interviewer or whatever they call us, it serves 10 different purposes.
100%.
You get links off of it, marketing, you get exposure. Mm-hmm. I get practice, articulation, dictation, all the things that make me a good voiceover artist. And I come up with ideas just from talking and our banter, because you are so different from me, but we are speaking the same language.
Are you saying I can't hip hop? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not. I'm saying most of this conversation has been about everything other than hip hop.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
That's the key. I can adapt to what you do, right?
Yeah.
That's why I was excited about this, because I was like, I've done every type of podcast. Mm-hmm. I've gotten 3 different financial advisors off a podcast because they couldn't believe a rapper is a commodities broker.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that I'm not good at intellectual gambling, which is, is trading. Investing's a different thing. Right. So investing, I can get somebody and give them a shot and see what my returns are, see what they pick, see if they're all over the page, see if they're selling and buying and selling. I know what's happening because I educated myself to be able to watch and know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's what I've done. And that's a lot of that's come from podcasts. So anybody who you meet people that, you're like-minded, and somebody scratches your back and you can scratch somebody else's back. And it just works, man. So that's why I do 2 or 3 of these a week, because of the people that I meet. Yeah.
I want to switch gears in the last few minutes, because one other thing I read about you I find fascinating, and that's kind of your entrance into the crypto world. Mm-hmm. So talk briefly about that, because I know crypto is an area that, I follow pretty closely, but I know a lot of people are either scared of, ignorant towards, or what have you. So just spend a minute kind of talking about, your involvement there.
I mean, crypto is hard because, I had a crypto coach, so I was lucky, right? And I think I started in 2019, just before the pandemic. But, I had to learn that, you might think that you're trading like stocks, but there's, what they call the gas fees, which are transaction fees. But crypto, you might have to go through 2 different exchanges just to get rid of, to liquidate your crypto.
Mm-hmm.
So how much are you going to spend to liquidate your crypto? And then when you get the final tally back, that might be all the money that you had gains in. You see what I'm saying? So I had to learn that. I had to learn, which coins were the best. And, that was kind of the Wild Wild West where everybody was just doing coins and pumping and dumping. And all right, you had to learn all that the hard way. So what I did is I said, I'm going to stick to a few good ones, which is, I know Bitcoin's not going anywhere. I know Ethereum's not going to go anywhere. I know Solana's not going to go anywhere. I know certain ones are not going to go anywhere. So I just bought those and just leave them. I just leave them, man. And then, when Bitcoin crashed, it came back. But because I left it there, now I'm good, right? Because it's over 100 now. I haven't looked at it.
I think it's like 116, 115, I think, around today.
Yeah, but it was I got in when it was like 50. Then it went down to 10. Should have bought a bunch there, but like every financial crisis, you're not thinking I should buy because it is super, super low. You're thinking, man, I'm not touching nothing.
Right.
Because I don't know what the future holds. But this is America, capitalism. It's always going to come back. Somebody's always there's people that are going to have it, and there's people that are not.
Right.
So you have to educate yourself. So that's why I don't subscribe to complaining about things, because it doesn't make any sense when everything you need is in a bill or a law in a book that you can read for yourself and adapt your business and your game.
Yeah.
These things that change, because everything changes all the time. Right. So why are you mad that things change? People are mad that things change.
Yeah.
And life is going to change no matter if it's good or bad anytime. So a lot of times it changes when it's good. Sometimes a lot of times it changes when it's bad. But you have to be educated enough to know that, okay, it's bad right now. For a lot of people, it's bad right now. But for a whole lot of people, it's good because the stock market keeps going up. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, but if you got to understand why that's happening.
Yeah, 100%.
And adapt your life to how that can happen. So that's why I continue to educate myself, because I know that I knew that AI was the future 4 years ago. So I jumped deep into it. And if I hadn't, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I can do now. Right? I wouldn't understand that I can build things that it would have took me 6 months to build. Like I got to finish a pitch deck today for the NFL, right? And that has been an experience. But see, here's the thing. You might think that you can do this type of, here's my thing. Because I have experience, you have to combine your experience with the new technology.
Right.
So I have all the people who I need to send to in the NFL, but I don't have their email addresses. So how am I going to get this information to them that tag team is viable for the halftime shows? Well, I'm going to go back old school, and I'm going to put together an 8-page pitch deck, put in a nice envelope, and then place it to the, president of game day operations or director cheerleading squad, right? And send out to those titles. And now they got a physical copy, just like a demo tape we used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
You send a record company a demo tape, but it would be so many people sending a demo tape because that was the norm back then. It is not the norm to put a pitch deck in an envelope, send it to somebody, and hope that they look at it. And if the pitch deck is perfect with concert pictures and it tells the story and it's not a lot of words and the bullet points are on point, and it tells them what they got to do to find you, well, that's just as good. And nobody else is even thinking about doing that because everybody is in this new age where we try to do social media and we do things a different way.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow, this has been great. You've been very informative. So how can people find you across social media platforms?
So here's another thing. All the social media platforms is either DC Glenn ATL, which is my handle for all of them, or Tag Team Whoomp.
Tag Team Whoomp.
Type in my name, DC Glenn, because SEO, you'll find me. The key is to be found.
I found you right away. Before I do my homework, before I found you in 1 second. SEO's working for you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I still got a lot of work to do because it's only me.
Yep.
And
it took 3 words: DC, Glenn, Geico, and I saw your commercial.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So everybody searches a certain way.
Yep.
If I can be on the backside and know what certain terms have the most volume, which is how many people search a month.
Yep.
Well, then I'm going to use those words. So when people type in those words, that's what they're going to find. And Google gives you the recipe.
Right.
And
follow it. Yep.
If I'm going to be, what am I going to be? Am I going to be, it's a recipe just like food. Am I going to be a short order cook or am I going to be a 3-star Michelin chef?
Yeah.
And I choose the latter because this is what I do. I hustle. I've been working since I was 8 years old. I had a paper route, 8 years old. I've been shoveling snow, raking leaves, cutting lawns. I've been doing that all my life. I'm a grown man that has never not known work. Therefore, work is easy for me.
That comes through. That's the one thing. If you get one thing out of this podcast, it's you didn't fall into dumb luck to get where you are today. You worked hard every step of the way, whether it's from DJing or calling it or getting your license. So you deserve where you are right now because you definitely earned it.
And being an older gentleman, that is the one thing that I'm most proud of is that I never became an old bitter rapper. You're never going to see a where are they now? You're going to never see stuff like that with me because I'm going to keep going as long as I'm healthy.
Yeah.
Because there are new ways to be innovative and new ways to, and I bring people memories. Mm-hmm. I'm a memory factory, right? So when people come to our shows, they get catapulted into a time machine. It takes them back to some of the best times of their lives for, a couple of hours. I just got back from LA. We did a show with Vanilla Ice, Tone Loc, Color Me Bad, and Tag Team.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I tour with these dudes all the time, every weekend, right? So, and sometimes it gets a little slow, and you have to fight for it because we only have one song. So I have to say, this is why you should hire us because they're like, well, they only got one song. Well, cool. Like you take everything that's negative and turn it into a positive. Like a lot of artists don't like to start the show. We don't care because it's how you perceive it. I'm the tip of the sword. We are the party starters. Let's go.
Yeah, let's get it going.
And you got to go up after us. So if you're worried about who goes in what order and all that, it doesn't even matter because, as soon as we walk on that stage, I'm getting content because everybody's recording and I've got it on the screen where you can send that recording. Now I've got footage. Now I've got pictures. Now they're my photographers and my videographers for content.
Yeah, amazing. Well, beautiful. Well, listen, I really enjoyed you coming on. This is really entertaining. I need you to end it like you started it for me.
All right.
Give it to me one more time.
Whoomp, there it is.
There you go. Hey, all right. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to Adeptus On-Air. If you like this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. The views and opinions by the podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Adeptus. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice.